Now I think we'll turn it over to the platform for the candidates. As Marnie had indicated, we'll ask you to introduce yourself. We're starting in alphabetical order from, I believe it's from Mr. Chafe, Stephen Chafe first. And so we're moving in alphabetical orders with last names all the way up to whoever comes last. Most of the candidates are here tonight. I know a couple of regrets have been sent in. But essentially, I think there's 10 candidates on the call. Really looking forward to hearing from all of you. Our opening session will be 2 minutes per candidate. And Marnie will indicate after each candidate who's next and who's coming up ahead, just to give you a heads up. So 2 minutes, and I'll cut you off within about 30 seconds with my little bike bell. Good luck. Thank you. So please, Mr. Chafe.
Yes, okay, well, I'll keep it as short as possible. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the best candidate, but I will say I'm certainly the most different out of the pack because I'm bringing quite a few different things to the table. One of the things I do want to bring in is changing in government, interactive democracy, recall mechanisms, things like that to improve our democracy, even at the city level. But for people who are not familiar with me, I've been active in this area now for about 5 years, involved with the farmers market, involved with various other volunteer projects, and also involved at the provincial political level too. So I have a lot of information and a lot of experience and a lot of general knowledge that I think would be appropriate for the role that's going to be faced for the next 4 years. And, you know, there are so many things that need to be done here that have been neglected. I'm afraid that it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a certain skill set, which I believe I probably have. I've also worked for the city too, which makes a big difference. And that's pretty much it for now. I'll let people read my webpage at www.stephenchafe.com if you would like to get more information on some of the topics that I'm working on specifically. And I'll leave it at that and pass it on to the next candidate.
And the next candidate would be Matthew Conrad, please.
So yes, yeah, that's me. So hello everybody, my name is Matt Conrad. I guess I'll start off with my slogan is here for you. The reason I chose this slogan is because this position is all about representing you. It's you, the community, that has driven me to put my name forward. So I would really like you to think of me as a trusted and capable candidate. So for the next few minutes, it might feel like I'm talking about me, but that's because I truly want you to feel like you see those two very important qualities in me. And at the end of the day, your trust in me is the most important. So here we go. So I was born and raised in Herring Cove, currently live in Prospect with my wife. Been actively volunteering in the community since I was about 18 years old. I started my life of serving people when I joined the Army Reserves. It was important for me to serve my country, and this taught me structure, and it taught me the value of hard work. Medically released, but my thirst for giving back was still there, so I found other avenues to give back to my community, whether it be from youth groups, community organizations and events. I mean, currently, for example, I'm on the Herring Cove Community Center, and I'm also on the MAD Halifax board as well. So these are just a few things that I've given back to a community that's given me so much. So now when it comes to my work experience, I currently manage an insurance company, insurance agency. So road safety, as we were talking about earlier, is very important to me. So I work with a government regulated product. I work with large manuals and legal documents. I manage millions of dollars in and out of my office, on top of thousands of clients and of course my staff. I have to work within budgets, from all the way from marketing to just staff appreciation. And although I've been in this industry for 9 years, I've been managing this office for the last 4. I never would have guessed this industry would have prepared me for the role as city councillor as much as it has. So that's why I feel that at a, we'll say, relatively young age of 35, that I might have the right balance of experience and fresh ideas to represent you at District 11. So we need to start focusing on issues that really impact the community. Things like affordable housing, inclusion. And I'm actually really happy to see many of the candidates wearing the orange shirt today. I'm wearing my most orange striped shirt as I possibly can. So that's really awesome. So inclusion is a very important thing. The environment is also something that we need to focus on, maintaining our green spaces and outdoor infrastructure. Road safety, as we spoke before. I mean, transit, responsible spending, proactive policing, and just better communication with our community. And a big topic actually for District 11 is clean water. It's another thing. This is a great community. I can also see it has a lot of potential. So I know all of us, myself and the rest of the candidates have had meaningful conversations at the doors. And I believe if we listen to each other and we work together, we can actually achieve great things. So one thing is, I don't pretend I have all the answers, because nobody actually does. But I bring experience of running a business and also an open mind to try new things. That's how we do things isn't really good enough anymore. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
And next up would be Bruce Cook, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne Marie, for the invite tonight. Appreciate it. I guess the first thing that I'd want to say is, I'm running for city council because I want to do the job. I want to do the job. I've lived in Herring Cove for the last 26 years. I've volunteered in the community for over 20 years. When I moved to Herring Cove, I took a short walk down the coastline here, about 500 meters. And I hear this crash and banging, and it was the raw sewage from the city flowing into the waters off Herring Cove. And then the current's taking it right back into Halifax Harbor. And I said, this is crazy. This cannot stand. This is not good for the environment. And people said to me at the time, I spoke to different people in the community, and they said, Bruce, this has been happening for well over 30 years. We didn't want the sewage in the first place, but we've got it, and we didn't want it, and it's not stopping. So we formed a committee here in Herring Cove, and we went door to door. I find always that's the most effective way to get things done. We went door to door, took a survey. The survey came back, of course, over 90% of the people said, we don't want raw sewage flowing into the waters off our community. It was disgusting, the floatables, the stench. So, it didn't happen overnight, but over a period of almost 9-10 years, we lobbied. We were able to get a $30 million sewage treatment plant built in Herring Cove. City was looking after at different locations. We stepped up and said that we would do it. And we had that treatment plant built. And after 40 years, raw sewage doesn't flow into our waters off Herring Cove anymore. In all my volunteering, water and sewer, we had raw sewage in the ditches in Herring Cove. Septic fields were leaking. We had seniors that, I remember this lady, 80 years old, she had to lift up an 18.9 liter jug into her toilet so the toilet would flush. We had seniors, they did a load of laundry at 7 o'clock in the morning. They couldn't do another load till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My neighbors had arsenic in the water. People had E. coli in the water. People said, we've wanted water and sewer for many years. And, we formed a committee, we got it done. Same thing with the high school. First one to put up their hand and say, we need a new high school. The high school was a dump. Anyway, the new high school is being built as we speak. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. And Patty Cattell up next, please. Thank you. Patty, you're mute.
There we go. Yeah. Thanks, Anne-Marie, and thanks to everyone who organized this forum this evening. I'm Patty Cuttle. I've lived in District 11 for over 20 years. My home is in Purcell's Cove, and it's where my kids were born and where they're being raised. I'm very proud to call District 11 home, and I think it's a pretty special place with a perfect blend of rural, suburban, and urban lifestyles. I am an urban and rural planner with more than 2 decades of experience in community and economic development. I've always been passionate about how the places we live in impact who we are, what we care about, and our well-being. And I also really believe that municipal government has the biggest impact on the quality of our daily lives. Currently, I'm the head of a business improvement district where I represent over 350 local businesses, work with community organizations and residents in all levels of government. I understand how government works, and I have a solid track record of getting things done. I took on the city with changes to the center plan for the North End Business Association, and also got additional investment into the area. For the past 6 months, I've been helping to shape the economic response and recovery plans for Halifax in light of COVID-19. If elected, I promise I will be a strong voice for the communities of District 11. I will work hard to address local issues like littering, speeding, safety, and fight for improvements to our infrastructure and community facilities like playgrounds for the many young families that are moving into the area, and also better transit service. We are a growing district, and with that comes changes and challenges, but I also believe lots of opportunities. But we need to find the right balance between protecting the things that matter most to us, like our lakes and access to the coast and character of our neighborhoods, while providing housing and services and economic opportunities. I believe the regional plan review and the secondary plan for Spryfield will be critical to doing this right. You know, these plans will determine the future of our district and help shape our identity. I feel strongly too that we cannot just keep on developing without any sense of direction or input from community. I will tackle this as well as connected issues like affordable housing, creating more diverse and inclusive communities, and protecting our environmental assets. I believe being an effective councillor takes knowing both how to navigate city government and how to work with the constituents, the people who live and work in our communities. I'm ready to hit the ground running if elected as your next councillor on October 17th. And I just want to say a quick thank you to all the people who have sent in emails, asked questions, and shared thoughts and ideas with me. There's so much we can do, so let's do this together.
Thank you, Patty. Next speaker.
Thanks, Patty. Yeah, and the next speaker is Bruce Holland, please.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for the audience out there listening tonight. It's great for you to join us. I want to start by thanking the Spryfield Community Association for holding this event. It gives us an opportunity to tell people who we are and our experience and what we plan to do in the future. I was born and raised in Shad Bay on the Prospect Road, which is in the district. I bought my first house in Prospect Village, where I lived for 5 years. After that, I lived for 17 years on the Terrence Bay Road, and then 12 years in Brookside. So the last 11 years has brought me to Spryfield, where I'm the executive director of the Spryfield Business Commission. That's given me the opportunity to do lots of things here in the district, work on the Long Lake Provincial Park, developing that. The SS Atlantic in Terrence Bay, the park there, we did that. Lots and lots of things done here in the district. In terms of my background, I've been a councillor before. I've been an MLA. I was the Minister of Science and Technology and also the Minister responsible for the Sport and Recreation Commission. You know, this district's been my life. I volunteered here. I currently volunteer on many organizations here in the district, and it's just what I do. And I think that with my experience and my background, I can continue to add to the goodness of this district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Sorry, go ahead. Next up would be Kristen Hallery, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kristen Hallery, and I am currently the Community Ministry Director or Executive Director of St. Paul's Family Resources Institute. In this job, I see a lot of poverty, and I have lived in this community my entire life. I've gone to school here. My kids go to school here. I volunteer here on Home and School and SAC, and I'm a guide leader. and you do see a lot of aspects of the community. And I'm not good at talking about myself. I talk to people, I help people, that is what I do. So this is new for me, and it is a bit of a learning curve. I think we're all in this learning curve together. But the things that I feel are important are talking to people and hearing and trying to find solutions. In my job, I do find solutions for people, but they're all short term. I'm looking to take this job on so I can find long-term solutions. The things I see daily are transportation. People can't get to my food bank. People from other places in the community can get to me. My food bank actually does support almost the entire District 11. There is a tiny food bank down the Prospect Bay Road, but they are so small, so I end up supporting some of the clients that they can't assist. People in Harrietsfield and Sambro can't easily get to me. People obviously in Prospect Road can't easily get to me. So we are trying to deliver, but this is not great when you're dealing with food and transportation and how people are getting to you. Food is essential and it's necessary. And it affects everything else. It affects our housing, and we hear stories all the time about rent, which we need to try and look at how we're going to fix people in affordable housing. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'm saying, and I'm not. This is new for me. But I think that I just want to help people. I am here to do that. I want to listen to people. I hear their stories. I have background in doing this stuff. I navigate systems all the time. I talk to government officials. I advocate for people all the time. I have been part of a task force on National Food Bank Canada, working with vice presidents of Loblaws and Walmart to figure out food in the communities that we live in. It's all about food. And is that Anne-Marie's bell?
That is.
Okay.
So
I think I'm going to end there, but I really I think I'll make a good person because I will listen and understand, and I'm going to be a voice for people in the community. And that is what I think is really important. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kristen. And next up is Ambrose, please.
Hello, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
We hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really want to say thank you everybody who organized this the Spryfield Business Commission, Business Association for organizing this event tonight. I think voters need to really know the different backgrounds. My name is Ambrose Matuana. I lived in Canada over 40 years, and here in the district, 10 years. So when I first moved here 10 years ago, I really fell in love with the district. And of course, the first thing I start doing is connecting with people, building relationships. Background-wise, why I think I'd be a good choice for city councillor. I coached most of my life. After high school, I spent a lot of time coaching locally, and I coached internationally. And I coached a high school, I coached a club, and I coached collegiate soccer. And what that does is you get to work with people from different backgrounds, and you really get to learn how to enable people to become great, and you learn to mentor people. And the biggest one, just you learn to build relationship for common goal, which is winning when you're coaching. Here in the last 10 years, I've been working in the private sector, and same thing, private sector is really mostly about protecting people and making them feel safe. In the district here, I live in Spryfield. I have an 11-year-old that goes to Central Spryfield. And so I'm really, really in love with the district, especially Spryfield. And what I've noticed very quickly, though, in the last little bit, is that there's a lot of diversity here. And was that my bell?
30 more seconds, Ambrose.
Okay, yeah, so there's a lot of diversity here. And but the reason why I'm running is really representation. We need everybody's voices to be heard. And I think that is not happening. So I want to be able to bring everybody to a table, all the different groups, the diverse groups that are not even participating in what's going on in the community. So I think that because of relationships, I can get downtown and build allies and build relationships that can help our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ambrose. And next up is Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Like everyone else, I want to echo my thanks for having this forum this evening to be able to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Mullen, and I've lived in Shad Bay for about 25 years now. And community services is just who I am. I've engaged in volunteering since a very young age. And this experience has led me to many leadership roles in volunteering with Crime Stoppers Nova Scotia, Feed Nova Scotia, Citizens on Patrol, Prospect Road Organization for a Better Environment, amongst others. And these roles have now translated into an exceptionally rewarding career in the not-for-profit sector. The roles that I've taken have focused on issues that affect us as a community. So things like homelessness, women's equity, mental health and addiction, cancer care, promoting heart healthy communities. And then this has led to the role that I have now, which is the executive director of the Marguerite Center. The most rewarding part of that is to be able to advocate for people who are not able to advocate for themselves. Lived experience is so important when you're representing a community, but real change actually happens when you can supplement the real world knowledge with a professional acumen. My career in leadership in volunteering has spanned many of these public sectors in public service. I have a deep well of experience in our political systems as well as our processes through advocating collaborative work, grant writing, policy and governance modeling. This kind of experience results in an ideal combination of skills that can be successful as a counselor. And I've always strived to make our community better through our volunteering and work. And now to be a city council representative would be a dream come true for me and a huge win for District 11. Thanks. Ding, ooh, feedback, reverb.
Oh, there you go. Thanks, Lisa. And next up is Hannah. Can't hear you yet, Hannah.
Sorry about that. The little toolbar that says mute had gone to sleep, so I guess I forgot it existed. Thank you to the Spryfield Community Association for organizing this. It's a great opportunity. My name is Hannah Munday. I live in Hatchet Lake and have lived there for 13 years. I raised my children there, and we love the community. We love District 11 very much. It's home for us. I spent, just a little bit about my background, I spent 8 years working in the nonprofit sector and 10 years running a small home daycare business, which I think has given me some skills that will come in very handy around the council table. I'll let people imagine what those might be. So District 11 is growing. It's growing very fast, and COVID-19 has accelerated that growth as more and more people are looking to have a bit of space and a bit of elbow room for their. And one of the things that I think has challenged the district up until now is that we do welcome people to come in, we build lovely homes, but we don't have the infrastructure in place to support those new people in the community. And this is what I would like to focus on. We need to have transportation options for people because the traffic situation, as everybody knows, is getting worse. We need to make sure that we address the environmental sustainability of these new communities. We need to make sure that we have affordable and accessible housing as an option when we put in new developments. We need to be able to strike the balance between encouraging growth in our district and making sure that we have the services that can make our communities livable in the future. You know, I think that District 11, it is a bunch of disparate communities and they're all very proud of their identity, and that's a wonderful, beautiful thing. But we also need to unite behind a common purpose. If we can get together and be proud of District 11 as a whole, we can not only bring more things to our district that everyone wants, but we can take our place as part of the larger framework of Halifax. And that's something that I feel very strongly about. And that's why I am be your counselor. And I'm going to, like several others, going to keep it short so that we have more time for questions. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Hannah. And next up is Don. Don, I don't see you. I think we just lost. Oh, no, there I see you. Great.
She's there. She's on mute, though.
On mute.
Are we good now?
I see you. And thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm joining you from the library, and my name is Dawn Edith Penny. This is my second time running in District 11 for the position. I ran in 2016. A bit about myself is I'm a personal care worker. I need to go to work immediately after this, so I'm going to keep it short. I have been doing care labor since I was 12 years old, started with children, went into adults with disabilities, and I also operate a business caring for animals. So care providing runs in my veins, and I think HRM deserves a counselor that is a care provider. I feel there's been too much of a domination culture over the past century or so, and I'd really like to implement culture change as well as system change, because I believe partnership culture is way more effective. Yeah, I don't want to take up much time where I have to go to work, but I welcome anyone to contact me if they want to know any more about my background.
Great. Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
And last but not least, over to Pete.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pete Rose, and I live in Ketch Harbor. I have lived here now for 16 years, and I'm a husband and a father of two beautiful children who are 5 and 7. Both of my children attend the Samborough Elementary School, where I have also been on the school advisory committee since before my oldest even started school. I started as a volunteer community member, and I have now been the chair of the SAC committee for the last 3 years. I'm also heavily involved in our Ketch Harbor Area Residents Association, and I have been on the executive for the last 7 years, where I started out as the treasurer, and I have now been one of the co-chairs for the last 5 years. With my volunteer experience over the last years, from being involved with our community association, I have been directly involved in working with all 3 levels of government, and I have worked extremely hard with our dedicated volunteers in the transition of the old volunteer fire station in Duncan's Cove over to a new vibrant community hall. And I've also with the ongoing work to rebuild our community wharf. As a volunteer, I've also been donating almost every 2 weeks for Canadian Blood Services for almost a decade, with a total of 157 donations. To be able to donate my blood products over the years has truly been a passion for me, and to be able to save a life. In my career, I have been a construction project manager in the private sector for the last 10 years. During this time, I have been involved in the creation and the administration of extremely large budgets, and I have worked with developers, contractors, and government organizations to be able to complete both small and large projects across the entire country. And I have done that while being extremely fiscally responsible. These skills, along with my Bachelor of Business Administration degree and the passion for our communities, make me the best candidate for your next municipal councillor, to bring forward new creative and innovative ideas and new perspectives to council, and bring District 11 and our municipality into the future. I want to draw upon the diversity within our communities and the talent and energy that already exists and the people who are making great things happen every day. If elected, I'd like to form a District 11 advisory committee that has representation from the existing community groups and from people all across our district to ensure that all voices from all areas of our district are heard. We will have a lot of difficult decisions to make over the next 3 to 5 years, and I know that I am the strong, positive voice that our district needs, and I will work hard every day to ensure that we make it through this together. I think you're muted, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, thank you.
And
that was a great
thanks, everybody.
round. Thanks, everyone. So I think we're moving quickly into the posted questions. Marnie has posted a number of questions. Marnie, you're going to help us through this. Thank you. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we have 3 questions that I will I'll read out so that everyone that is watching will know what the questions are. But I would remind everyone who's watching on other mediums such as Facebook, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them. And I'm going to ask 3 questions now. You can select which question appeals to you the most, just so we're not all answering the same question 12 times. And then hopefully I'll get some more questions in, and I'll do another round with 3 more questions that we get from the audience that's watching. So the 3 questions you have to choose from are, number 1, now that you've heard the other candidates, what's the key idea or platform that differentiates you? Number 2, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making process in our community? Or number 3, what is your volunteering background in our community and what accomplishments are you most proud of? So please feel free to select one of those. We'll give you 1 minute to answer those questions. And then once everybody's had a chance to go through them, I'll ask 3 more questions. Hopefully we get from the audience, and then we'll go from there. So just so we mix up our order a little bit, we're doing it alphabetical. We'll continue, but we're going to start in the middle with Kristen, please.
Hi, I'm going to answer question 3. What is your volunteering background? I am currently a Spark leader and a guide leader. I've been doing this now for 14 years. I think Girl Guiding is such an important organization, especially for women and empowerment. So I think that that's really important. So I'm helping do that. I've also been a team manager for lots of ring ad and soccer teams, my kids' sports teams. I have been actively involved in the schools that all my children have gone to. The biggest one, of course, John W., because I was there for about 13 years. I helped with every fundraising event. I sat on the Home and School as president, past president, and I was co-chair of their SAC. The biggest accomplishment in the volunteering that I did is in August, I threw a prom for the JL grads. It seems so minute, but for those grads, it was really important that they get that special moment in their lives. It's the thing that most people always talk about is when I went to prom, when I did this, and when they got their grad. They had a terrible year and they were expected to do so much, and they got their graduation, which was absolutely done fantastically, but they all wanted to go to their prom. So now they have that memory. It was a beautiful day, and I was so proud that I was able to give those students that memory, because those are life ones that they will get to cherish now forever.
Thanks, Kristen. That's great. And so next up is Ambrose, please.
Thank you very much, Marnie. I'm going to pick number 1. What differentiates you from other candidates? Well, I'm Black. I'm the only Black candidate that's running. And I think I'm very proud to represent a whole race in this election. But it's not just about the race. I believe that one of the things I said earlier, that I started noticing a huge diverse change in Spryfield that I thought needed to be addressed. I had to run to show representation. You know, representation is very, very important so that it's fair for everyone that lives in a community or in a district, for that matter, to feel that they're a part of. And through diversity and inclusion, really, and making sure everybody's voice is heard, and they start to feel that part of the process, you know, part of the decision making, And that's really, really one of the things that I've been saying from the beginning of my campaign. The first meeting we had with this group here, I was the first one to talk about diversity, inclusion, and as well as unity, bringing the communities together. I want to get back to maybe even town hall meetings where, you know, like some of the candidates are saying, I've been to some areas in the district that are completely, that have different needs, coastal communities. So if we can start to have town hall meetings, meeting styles, then people who are not able to have internet or whatever, they'll have an opportunity to come in and we can work together. And win or lose, I also feel that we are very, very fortunate to have this wonderful, wonderful selection of candidates. And maybe after, doesn't matter who wins, we can really all work together to make our community better. So I think that, was that my time?
That was your time.
Oh, well, look.
Final 10 seconds.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ambrose. And next up is Lisa.
Well, just to shake it up, I'm going to choose question number 2. I have been actively involved in the public engagement process for the last few years, being the chair of the public advisory group for Nova Scotia Health Authority's mental health and addictions. And we've gone through the public engagement training. That has also led me to practice those skills on some of my bigger collaborative projects that I have done, some pan-Canadian projects where we've had to collaborate as a group. So for me, public engagement is actually the key. It is the thing that is going to make a counselor a really good counselor, because you can't represent a community if you don't know what the voice says. And so there are 4 strategies that I'd like to employ. One of them is, like Ambrose said, the town hall meeting. So the physicality of getting together with somebody. We can have those virtually as well. Next one would be to establish focus groups. From we will get through the town hall meetings and through other venues, there will be some priorities that we can focus surveys and use the web-based engagement that we have just created on this campaign.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And next up from the same group of questions, Lisa Mullen, please.
That was just me.
That was Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Hannah, I'm looking at my list. Thanks, Lisa.
That's okay. Sometimes I don't remember my name either. It's all right. I'd like to answer question 1. We have very fine slate of candidates here. I think what differentiates me perhaps is that everything in my platform is interconnected and all has to work together. We can't look at affordable and accessible housing without looking at the environmental piece. We can't look at recreation without looking at the demographics of the communities and how we can reach out to the people that live there. We can't look at transportation without looking at traffic patterns, which then we can't look at unless we discuss safety and how the roads can be better designed. Everything in my platform has to work together in parallel tracks. And I think that's one of the things perhaps that has held District 11 back a bit in the past, is that sometimes we do look at problems in isolation, both from the problems from each other and then the communities from one another. And so it's this concept of linking everything together and moving forward in that fashion that differentiates me from the other candidates. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next up is Dawn.
I would like to answer number 2, and I think we need to bring the voice of the people back to the government. That is what democracy is for, and it's been a shame that we've went so long without as much public consultation as there deserves to be. And the way I would implement that is, of course, town halls, and but then a safer way in this time would be oh, that's okay, would be sending surveys in the mail, but then also links so that people could go online and fill out the survey. And then when I'm using my vote in council, I can confidently say that I'm representing the majority of the people, as all know what they expect of me as their representative. Thank you.
Great, thank you, John. And next up is Pete. And maybe if you could repeat the questions as you decide which one to answer, just in case the people watching forget.
I can indeed. So I think that I've already kind of answered number 2 and 3 as part of my opening. So question number 1, which is, now that you've heard the other candidates, what is the key idea or platform that differentiates you? So I think that one of the things that that I can demonstrate here is my 10 years of experience as a construction project manager, and just project manager in general. I've dealt with budgets in the tens of millions of dollars and across multiple provinces across the country. And I've dealt with levels of government, I've dealt with contractors, I've dealt with developers, I've dealt with city and municipal planning when it came to what my job was, and tendering projects and awarding of projects. Fiscal responsibility, if you looked at my job description, was probably the number 1 item on the list. And I think that in order to make it through what we need to, the tasks that we need to do at council, and what's going to be asked of us over the next number of years as we really combat the effects of COVID-19, we're going to need to be more fiscally responsible than we've ever been. We're going to need to look at all lines of our budgets and really dig down and investigate the money that we're spending and investing in our communities, and differentiate between needs and wants. So I know that's one of the skill sets that I bring to the table, among others, but I think that that's one of the big things that differentiates me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pete. And next up is Stephen. Can't hear you yet, Stephen.
Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm actually going to reply to number 1 and number 2. Number 1 briefly. The thing that makes me different from the other candidates is not only the fact that I've worked for the city before, but also I have a background in economics. And as Pete just alluded to, that's going to become very important over the next 4 years, because we're going to be facing a lot of fiscal challenges. Plus, I also have a background in city planning too, as well. So I've got the combination of all 3 there that's been mentioned earlier. Number 2, one of the things you mentioned is how to plan to involve residents at the decision-making process in our community. Well, one of the things I'm planning to do, which is not being done anywhere else in North America, is bring in something known as interactive democracy. And what that is you will actually, as voters and as citizens, have the power to overrule me, to say that this is how I should vote for or against anything that goes through council. That's one part of it. Part 2 is basically you will have a recall mechanism. So through this is all done through a software-based system that's web and telephone-based, which I have already created, and it will put in place in this district, whether it gets put in place, passed as the law and the norm right across the entire city or not, but it will give you the ability to recall me if you're not happy with the job that I'm doing. It will also create something known as a petition of action. So how that would work effectively is if enough signatures are on a petition, it requires that something be brought in front of City Council as a motion for discussion. So just these 3 things alone are small changes, or seem like small changes, but they will enable people to have a serious voice in our community and know what happens in their voice inside of the City Council chambers. But it also brings a level of accountability to the table, which has not been done anywhere before. Because we're your elected representatives and we work for you, and we should also answer to you, and if need be fired by you if we're not doing our job. So that's something that nobody else in any of the ridings, any of the other candidates has even brought up yet. But I think it's something going forward that's important for basically not just in the here and now, but in the future, because it'll protect democracy for us. So we'll be the first.
Stephen.
Thank you.
Stephen. And next up is Matthew.
Excuse me. So I'll go with question number 2. So how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process? So it's town halls have been mentioned here already. That is something that I'd like to do. I'd actually like to set them, you know, basically almost at least at a minimum of a quarter at a time. That way people know and can plan ahead. I've actually already reached out to a few MLAs as well that would want to join me, as all of us know that often questions get asked and sometimes it's like, no, that's a city road, no, that's a provincial road. So I've asked them to join me as well, because there's nothing more frustrating to a resident than to ask a question and have the buck be passed, per se. That's one thing. I also do want to create a inclusive committee that can advise me. Obviously, I have a certain privilege that I recognize, so there's certain things that I need to learn from other people's experiences, and so that can help me make decision making as well. So that would be able to give power to people to have a say. Lastly, I will never stop door knocking. Every week, I will door knock. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. And next up, Bruce Cook.
Thank you. The first thing that I want to say is, Ambrose, I'm glad you're in this race as well, and I do think that you have the best sign on Herring Cove Road. I just want to talk a little bit about the high school. You know, the high school, you know, a few years ago when I started the champion campaign for the new high school, I rallied the student council, I rallied the parents and the business commission. And, you know, as some of you may or may not know, the J.L. Ilsley was falling apart. We had a cinder block fall out of the gym wall, come within 4 or 6 feet of a student that I used to coach in lacrosse. We had buckets in the classroom collecting rain. We had rain barrels in the gym. You know, we had one kid teacher asked a kid to open up a window, and the kid opened up the window and the window fell out of the school. And Kenny Johnson said to me at the time, Bruce, he said, if that glass had to come in instead of going out, someone could have been seriously injured there. You know, when someone tells me I can't do something, I don't listen. And I know city council is about more than, you know, schools and water and sewer and sewage treatment plants. You know, city council is, you know, when the plow goes down the street and it cracks the curb and you've got water running onto someone's property, you know, the person calls their city councilor. There's big things and a lot of little things, and bring it on.
Thanks, Bruce. And next over to Patty. Nope, can't hear you, Patty.
I think I'd figure that out by now. Thank you. Thank you, Marnie. The questions just got all bumped up here, but I'm going to take on question number 1, question number 2 here. So how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making in our community? You know, there's a few things about that. Like, one is that a lot of that work gets done by HRM. And I've been very critical about their engagement processes, whether it's the surveys they do or the public meetings that they have, because a lot of the information that's gathered there goes into staff reports that council makes decisions on. And unless those community engagement processes are transparent and well done and inclusive, then the decisions that get made at the council table aren't really reflective of what the community is saying. So that's number 1. Number 2 is hosting community meetings. I would see them being rotated around the district and focused on ideas and priorities and where people want me to take action. So, you know, we're trying to figure out what the new normal is here. And I really think this is an amazing opportunity to rethink what happens in our communities, work with residents and community organizations to be involved in the priority setting.
Thanks, Patty. And last but not least on this set of 3 questions, Bruce Holland.
Thank you, Marnie. 3 very good questions. The first one, I think, you know, I'm differentiated just by my experience on council and in government before. The second one, I have a video on my website, my campaign website, that speaks directly to how I'm going to involve people. So I think I'm going to answer the third one, which is my volunteer background. You know, I'm very proud to have served for the last 6 or 7 years on the YWCA Advisory Council for the Women's Empowerment in Economics, being able to help women get ahead who are being challenged in their lives. That's very rewarding. Being on the St. Paul's Family Resource Institute and the Food Bank Board, that's another one. I'm proud of my work on the Long Lake Provincial Park Association. Developing that park has seen literally thousands of people enjoy the outdoors. I'm also on the HRM Advisory Committee for special events, the Halifax Dartmouth Natal Day, the Spryfield Santa Claus Parade. That's one I'm very proud of because I've been doing that for 12 years. This will be my 12th year as the co-chair of that Santa Claus Parade. And it's so much fun to do, and it's so much fun to see the smiles on the children's faces every year as we go by. Spryfield Days, of course, is always fun. I'm past chairman of the SS Atlantic Heritage Park in Terrence Bay. I've been the past chair and past co-chair of the St. Margaret's Bay Tourism Association. I've been on the Harbor Authority of Terrence Bay and Lower Prospect, the Credit Union Atlantic Supervisory Committee as a volunteer. I was the former chairman of the Prospect Road Community Association for many years. And that'll wrap it up. That's a short list of what the many volunteers things that I've done.
Thanks, Bruce. And thank you to everyone for that round of questions. And we've been watching Facebook as the questions continue to come in. So I've picked a couple that I think are good, a good broad list of questions. And so I'll read out 3 more questions, and you can select from any of those 3 as you go back through. We'll go through again, and this time we'll start with Pete, just so that everybody doesn't get to go first or last, and then we'll go back through the list in alphabetical order. So I'll just read the 3 questions for everybody who's watching. Question 1, or option 1, what is your definition of affordable housing and what is considered affordable rent? Question 2, how would you as a councillor attract corporate business to our central core area, i.e. Herring Cove Road, where jobs would be available so people would not have to commute downtown? Or question number 3, how do you plan to support nonprofit community associations through District 11? With so many of them in the district, there's many that will seek funding from the District Capital Fund or general funding from the HRM budget. These associations provide needed community events, rental space for events, and programming, which all keep residents of all ages engaged and healthy. So those are your 3 options, and I'll hand it over to you, Pete.
Thank you very much, Marnie. I'm going to go with number 1. Affordable housing is actually one of the items that I have on my platform. And I mean, the definition of affordable housing is to be able to have housing that the cost of the housing doesn't compromise somebody's ability to also provide the necessities of life, food, heat, and that kind of stuff. So to me, that's the definition of affordable housing. What is considered affordable rent? I believe the figure they use is 30% of your income is what would be used to define what would be an affordable rent. To put a number to that obviously is incredibly difficult, but with the current situation that the municipality is in, with a vacancy rate of less than 1%, the problem is now is that number is changing. And the cost of rent in the apartment industry, specifically in our city, are changing almost daily. And people that were living on the bubble of being able to have affordable housing are being pushed out. And there's a true and genuine risk that their names are going to end up on the by name list and be registered and be on the homeless side of things now. So we need to do more as a municipality to work towards the creation of affordable housing and to work with our communities to ensure that everybody has those necessities of life and access to it, whether it's low income population or seniors. We need to do more to make sure that we crack down on this now. If we wait any longer, it'll be too late, and we're going to have an even worse problem with the homelessness that exists today.
Thanks, Pete. And so we're back up to the top of the alphabet by last name with Stephen.
Hi. Again, I might address two of these, even though it's only a minute. The first one, the issue around affordable housing right now is it's going to take too long to build. We need to bring in a program that's more immediate. And I think most people are already familiar with my discussions about affordable indexing. A lot of that came from my speaking with landlords and trying to find out what works for them. And the biggest problem we have here in the city right now is taxes are too high for residential rentals. So affordable indexing, the idea behind it is that the city is the one who takes the bill. So the landlord, effectively, if they rent below the current market average for apartments, they would be able to take the equivalent of that amount of money, the savings they are passing on to somebody who's renting, I mean, and take it off their property tax. And there are mechanisms for that. We have to work with the province, but this is an immediate need as well, too. And it will bridge the gap over the next 3 years until we can actually have more available housing and look at things like rent caps and things along those lines to make sure that people have somewhere that they can rent. That's that one. Number two, you have a similar problem on the other side for businesses right now. Oh, I guess that's it.
Oh, go ahead. You have 30 more seconds, Stephen.
Oh, okay. Well, the quick thing about businesses is we need to do a similar plan for them so that businesses can have less rent, so that landlords that rent these business spaces out can also save money as well so they can pay their mortgages, basically along the same lines using what's known as the multi-tier tax program, which I know Patty has worked with as well, to set up programs that reduce the amount of taxes that businesses have to pay within either a protected corridor, like the Herring Cove Road corridor in this case, or in cases over the next 6 months, so that these places can keep their doors open. Because a lot of retail operations that I've spoken to over the past couple months are closing their doors. And we'll destroy our economy if we don't do something.
Thanks, Stephen. Next up is Matthew.
Okay, so affordable housing obviously is really important, but I think Pete and Stephen really covered that. So I'll go with the third question. So how do you plan to support nonprofit associations throughout the District 11? Clearly, as it states in the question there in the bottom part there's obviously a discretionary funds, and there's also some other grant fundings general funding that we can seek out. That's where it kind of comes in with the communication. We need to balance that, and we have X amount of dollars to go around. That's where I would want to have community input to have that there, where we would actually use those funds. But on top of that, fundraising for nonprofit or charitable events or organizations is something that I actually like quite a bit doing myself. I like being hands-on. And as councillor, you would have a very loud voice for the district. So I also plan on personally stepping up, and whether I become councillor or not, I still plan on doing that. I've actually got to meet a lot of really great people knocking on doors, and I have some plans to do some quality fundraising for not-for-profits in this community, whether I'm the lucky candidate or not. So I think it comes down to being really hands-on in your community, and that's what I plan on doing, is using the funds appropriately, including the district as well to have a say, but on top of that, being hands-on.
Thanks, Matthew. And next up is Bruce Cook.
My turn?
Yeah, you're up.
Thank you. I think I'd talk about number one, the housing crisis in Metro. And, one of the things that I've known people that have lived in cooperative housing now for many years. Housing is so important. It is just, it's one of the top priorities. It has to be, because when people have a roof over their head and a safe environment, and it's great for families. Kids do better in school if they have a nice place to live. And this cooperative housing, we have the land. And I'm not an expert in this, but the municipality has the land. let's build some more cooperative housing. And as you probably know, it's based on a percentage of household income. So, you know, no one pays more than 25% of what they bring in, and then they have money to buy food and other necessities of life.
Thanks, Bruce. And next up is Patty.
Unmute this time. Thank you, Marnie. Yeah, so I'm going to touch on two as well because I think they're interconnected. You know, one of the questions is about how do we attract businesses to the central core area of Spryfield, and the other one being affordable housing. These are both really tied to doing a regional plan review and a secondary plan. Just today at council, they were talking about the affordable housing fund that's being created through density bonusing. Because density bonusing is only allowed in the urban core, that money that's collected could only be spent in the urban core. Right now, there's nothing in HRM for affordable housing outside. So in order to get that, we need to know how to work with the municipality to get the funding in place to see the housing in our district or ask that they extend it. I was really shocked today that not one councillor asked for it to be extended into District 11. So, you know, we have a great need here, and we need some action on that. In terms of attracting businesses to our core, again, we need to go back to our secondary strategy. We need to update it. We need to increase the zoning to provide incentive for people to want to come and redevelop in our commercial core. But we have to be really careful that that zoning isn't overzoned so that we don't necessarily want 30-story towers and podiums. You know, we want it to be at a level that encourages local developers to come and build and has a mix of housing and commercial spaces so that those commercial spaces are successful. So, I really can't emphasize enough right now the importance of having somebody at council who can get the city to press forward on doing that plan review.
Thanks, Patty. That's great. Next up, Bruce Holland, please.
Thank you, and thank you for the good questions again. I think I'm going to go with number two. Being here at the Business Commission in Spryfield really gives me a good insight into this one, and I think it can equate to the Prospect Road as well. You know, the municipal planning strategy and the land use bylaws haven't been updated in 35 years in these areas, and so they need to be reviewed so that we can come up with a plan, so that developers know what they can develop, and it's done in cooperation with the public, so that they come up with the plan and tell developers this is what we would like to see in our area. Having done that, having said that, there's the businesses in this area are unbelievable. We have businesses like the Orb Factory selling toys all over the world. We have some of the best fish plants in Sambro that are feeding the world. We have a new microbrewery that opened today. You know, Spryfield is a popular place and people want to come here to do business. We have all these people that are living here and have home businesses that want to move into places. And we don't have any space. We don't have any retail space. We're running out. So that's a big thing for both Spryfield. And I think we should develop on the Prospect Road a core business district as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. And next on the agenda is Kristen, please.
Oh, I'm going to answer question 3 since that is my life. Supporting, this is mostly about money, but I think we can support as city councillors nonprofits in multiple ways. And one of those is by bringing people together. So in Spryfield, we have so many organizations that work together already, but sometimes they run into problems like funding or just manpower. And I think as city councillors, we can bring community together to enhance programming. Mobile Market is a perfect example of one project that was so beneficial to our community, and it went from one profit. It started with my organization, I was small. It went to a couple others, and now it's almost non-existent. And it was putting food into our community. But that is where a city councillor can come in and help navigate that system and help join that. During COVID, as a single person basically working in a nonprofit, I felt kind of alone. And I think as a city councillor, we can also help nonprofits navigate systems and find out different types of information that they need to know to keep their organizations open when everything else is mandated closed, so that we can provide those essential services to the community that they're so needed. I mean, especially as we saw, food was so important during COVID, and we had so many people make demands on our time, and that we were trying to navigate a system, and we needed more government interaction. And I think as city councillors who are close to the people, they can help support those nonprofits and then the community as well.
Thank you, Kristen. And next is Ambrose, please.
Thank you, Marnie. I'm going to pick affordable housing. I think this is a major, major crisis. And in this campaign, I've received phone calls rather, and emails from people talking about getting either evicted or they're going to lose their home because the rent's going up soon. And so it's pretty much everybody knows how much of a crisis this is. But the thing that we have to keep in mind, something that I think Stephen Schaefer talked about earlier, is that there's not much time. By the time we may come up with solutions, some people may be already homeless. So we need to really balance out. We want to have development and these developers creating places which people can afford, or so we really, really have to start looking at things like maybe even Bruce Cook and Bruce Holland are talking. The municipal has land. How quickly can we come up with pragmatic solutions that make sense? Because this is this is almost in the area of compassion. The people suffering, and the vacancy percentage is very high. Very high. Nobody's moving out. So, and cost of living, they're telling you is $20.80. Not everybody makes that. So where can we go? Patty Kutel talked about some things at City Hall where nobody's voting even for our district. So we got to come up with really, really different approaches here to speed this up, maybe work with the province in a different way. But I really believe that we are at the point where affordable housing has to be a high priority. We can't wait too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambrose. And next up is Lisa, please.
Well, thing with coming later in the pack is that everybody's already said stuff about all of them. So I'm going to go with number 3, because currently the last 9 years I've been working in, no, more than that, 10, 12 years I've been working in the not-for-profit sector. Our work at the Marguerite Center has primarily been about making connections and bridging gaps and doing navigation. So I already have a tool for that. I have a comprehensive list on what all of a good number of what the community organizations are in this district. And so as councillor, the number one thing we're going to have to do is balance out the needs of the community with the reality of post-COVID economic recovery. And, the discretionary fund was something that was on the table, off the table, on the table, off the table when it came to the budget deliberations. So having actual physical dollars is going to be very difficult. And knowing what those small dollars mean to community organizations and not-for-profits, I feel ethically I could not do my job without connecting those, leveraging my contacts, leveraging whatever money I can give, putting community groups together so that they can share their resources and look at better ways to write grant proposals collaboratively so that we can benefit more organizations in one big bang.
Perfectly timed, Lisa. Nailed it.
And next up, Hannah, please.
Like Lisa said, it can be difficult to go at the end of the speaking order. There's been some very, very good questions asked and some very interesting answers given. I know everybody has, or many people have talked about the affordable housing piece of the puzzle. And one thing that I just want to use my minute to add to that discussion is that we have to make sure we're also looking at accessible housing. We have a population in this district, and I've talked to many of them while I've been canvassing, who are seniors. Many of them are still living in the homes they raised their families in, and they're looking to downsize, and they can't afford to. They could sell their houses quite quickly in the market we have right now, but then they don't have any place to go that will allow them to stay in their own home. And that's a piece of that affordable housing puzzle that we just can't forget. Affordable housing, as Pete had said, is generally defined as 30% of your income. Try to find a home on one level with access for mobility aids, close to amenities for 30% of the fixed income of the senior. It's very, very difficult to do that. And so, you know, we've all talked about the importance of affordable housing, but I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that affordable housing does also have to include the accessibility piece.
Thanks, Hannah. And last but not least, I'll pass it over to Dawn for this round of questions.
Thank you. I think that I'm going to tackle the question about bringing business in. And the thing about bringing new employers into the district is that employers need employees. And typically employees are not wanting to be car dependent anymore. They need access to transit. And right now, I think the best way is to extend our transit routes to go around the loop, and then also implement, or actually extend the 22 to go down Prospect Road. And then once you accomplish access for employers that want to employees that want to use public transit to get to work, then we can start looking at where these new employers can set up shop. And I think it's very important to implement employment opportunities within community. Urban sprawl is a terrible idea when we can be condensing communities to include businesses as well as residential and access to health services, and it can all be in one. There's no reason to be driving your car around to get to a place when what you need to access can be in your backyard. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. So I think I've gotten through everyone through those questions, and we have a few more questions that have come in, but I don't think we have time to go through another round with everyone. So thank you all for your answers, and thank you for anybody who posted questions. Sorry if we didn't get to them all. And I'm going to pass it back over to Anne-Marie.
Perfect. Thank you, Marnie. And thanks to all of you. You know, I was excited twittering about this morning, but I'm even more excited now because I think our community is really well served by almost any one of you. And I hope that you all feel free to share your ideas and to continue collaborating after this election. Unfortunately, only one of you can be successfully representing us this time around. So maybe we'll see you again on the ballot if you're not successful this time. But so many great ideas and such innovative ideas. And, you know, I could read the list of things I've made notes of here, but it's truly inspiring. So keep up the good work. We're going to move into a bit of a conversation round, and we won't spend too long because I know you've been a long time sitting, maybe just 15 minutes just to round it out. I have 2 or 3 questions here that I'd just like to get a general discussion going on. Just ask you to, you know, just be brief in your response. We'll try to keep an eye on who would like to say what next. So you can either just physically raise your hand, or if you go to the More button on the side of Zoom, you should be able to raise a hand. A little hand will appear in your box. So if you want to just practice raising your hand right now, you can go to the More button. Or physically, that's great.
Can I make a simple suggestion here before continuing? All of these other questions that are going to be missed tonight, is it possible that you could post them on your website so that all of us could reply to them, please?
We'll do that, Stephen.
Thank you.
Michael will send instructions on how to be able to access the information. Thank you. So, you know, as you all spoke, it made me wonder, what was I doing through the last 7 months of COVID? Because you've named all these communities that I feel like I haven't driven through in a while or gone to visit. And so I'm going to make it my commitment in around Election Day to make sure I can drive through some of all these beautiful communities in District 11. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, some of you talked a bit about unifying the community, and you know, it is quite a broad community, and some things to balance out there, you know, the needs of a small community versus a bigger community, getting around, and how we might think of ourselves as being unified. So if you want to touch on any themes there, please go ahead, you can raise your hand, and we'll try to just move through all of you quickly on any points you'd like to make. Marnie's going to help me, I think, keep track of people, and I also encourage anyone in the community group, Spryfield Community Association, to chime in as well. Thanks. Okay, Hannah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'll get us started because I know we've probably all got things to say. One of the things that's when I've been canvassing, and I have made a point, as I'm sure many of the other candidates have, to canvass in every community, which, you know, it's a lot of ground to cover. I was actually a little bit surprised by how many people didn't even fully realize just how big the district is and where the boundaries are. And to me, that's base principles. We have to start from that. Our councillor has to show some leadership in terms of talking about the whole district and promoting the district as a whole and bringing the communities together. And I think that's a piece of that's been missing. And I know for me, that's something that I feel very strongly about, because as I keep telling people on the doorstep, you might not realize that Westover and the Sambro Loop are all in the same district, but you share so many issues in common. And if we could just get together on some of these things, we'd actually make some forward progress.
Okay, go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, so Hannah actually touched on something there that's actually really important. This is actually something I kind of feel I strongly bring to the table, is spending most of my life in Herring Cove, but residing the last few years in Prospect. I feel like I have roots in both sides of, like, you know, on each side of we'll call Long Lake, or the protected the lands. And I know just knocking on doors, there is this feeling of division. And I'd really like to unite that, because we have an amazing district, and we have so much to offer, and bring awareness of, and Hannah touched on it. People, when I say, oh, well, I live in Prospect, and people in Spryfield are like, why are you running here then? Well, so I think to raise that awareness, and I really feel that's something that I can do, is just where I have roots in both sides.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lisa, and then Patty.
Again, echoing that, where people don't understand just how big District 11 is early on in the campaign, I ran into that. And so I made a cute little video about what exactly is District 11. Had a lot of fun doing it. I encourage you to watch it. It's a laugh. It's nothing too serious, but it does outline, you know, who we are and what communities are connected. You know, the Prospect Road piece, and Bruce would know this from living here, Prospect Road has always been the dog leg of somebody else. We always were attached to something else, both municipally, both provincially and federally. We keep shifting around our allegiances to whomever. So, you know, people on Prospect really don't want to get too comfortable being connected to other communities, because they might not be their family. There might be a divorce the next time there's a boundary review. So it's trying to connect the back end of Sambro Loop with the Prospect Road, because they are so identical. They are not, they're, you know, those residentially rural communities that don't have a business district like Spryfield, that don't have sidewalks, that don't have all those things. And so it's being that connecting voice. And Hannah said it perfectly. It's going to be the councillor's responsibility to make sure that they are the voice for the entire community, and using those words, and not just talking about Prospect Road and Prospect, not just talking about Sambro and Sambro, not just talking about Spryfield and Spryfield, bringing it all together.
Patty? Can't hear you, Patty. Yeah, you're mute.
Yeah, sorry there. Yeah, so Yeah, it is a big district, and we did used to be connected by the water. So I actually see kind of the coastal communities as a really important component. And not only are they all going to be facing issues around climate change and sea level rise, there also are working harbors. It's where our fishermen in. It's where there's a lot of employment. So you know, there's a big benefit to the coastal villages and coastal communities. And then we have our suburban communities like in Herring Cove and Brookside and Hatchet Lake. And then we have our urban center here in Spryfield. You know, I think we need to promote the benefits of each and what each has to offer the other, because they are all very different. The issues that exist in these places, they are different, but what unites us is what we provide to each other, I believe. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people along Prospect Road, I mean, they don't come into Spryfield because it's just as close to go to Bears Lake or Beachville or even downtown as it is to come into our urban center. So, you know, I think there is work to do there about how can, you know, Spryfield service these areas and what is our identity, like what's our connection in terms of our identity and our culture. So nice question.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Hi, yeah, to add to some of what's already been said too, having worked at the city as an analyst, one of the things that I found there is defect in the way that the planning is done at the city level. And this is key and it's important to our area. Now we have regional councils now, but we don't have regional planning resources. So for example, right now when the planning companies and the planning groups sit down, they look at the city as a whole. And that's not really a good solution because it should be looked at as the region, or at least the rural areas in which we should have dedicated planning people so that they better understand the needs here versus having somebody trying to fill all ends of HRM. It doesn't work. So what happens is a lot of things get lost in the mix. So there's a lack of leadership from the city planning point of view that if those resources were more focused within our communities, I think more of the needs within communities could be identified and met. And that's certainly come up from discussions I've had speaking both to people at the door, but also people who work for the city over the past couple of months is, you know, things like EHS, for example, emergency health service, like an ambulance within range out around Prospect. There should be an EHS unit attached to the fire department out there, things along those lines. And when a lot of the planning goes on within the city, it looks at the city core far too much. We need somebody who will stand up and counsel and basically make sure that there are resources that are committed to our area, whether that includes like Timberley, St. Margaret's Bay, all of that, to work together as a region so that we have the resources and the services we need here. Because right now there's holes in that system, and the reason why is because of that lack of organized planning.
Right. Folks, I'd like to move on to another question. Anyone have burning thoughts that they'd like to share?
I just have one thought that I'd like to touch back on, and then I know we, you know, everybody's been discussing the options and the requirements for being inclusive across our entire district. And one of the things I kind of touched on in my opening is I'd like to, you know, if elected, I'd like to create an advisory council or committee. And one of the major reasons for that is being out knocking on doors. And I've personally walked over 265 kilometers in the last 6 weeks, out knocking on doors and right from Eastover to every area around our district. And although, and I would actually disagree, somebody made a comment that that each of our areas, the issues that we have are unique or different. And I actually disagree with that. I think that one of the things that can come from having an advisory committee is that once you start to bring everybody together from all of our different areas across the district, you'll start to find synergies and crossovers in the issues that we have. They may be slightly different in the way that they're impacted in our communities, but overall, these type of issues are not unique. I mean, we all are facing very similar challenges with our taxes and with the services that are rendered as part of our taxes. And the best thing that we can do, as we've all talked about tonight, is to have that that one voice, that strong positive voice for our entire district, and have everybody sit at a table together so that we can discuss these things that are concerns in our communities, find out that you're not alone and that there are other areas that have similar concerns or similar issues. And then once we have a solid voice together, that's where, as a councillor, I can step in and I can bring that voice forward. So, I truly believe that, each area of our district may be geographically separated by great distances, but ultimately the challenges and the issues that we face are all interconnected and interwoven with each other. And I think that that's where we need that strong voice to move forward.
Thank you, Pete. So Bruce is the last speaker on this question.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Yeah, just before we move on, I think, having grown up in the district and my whole life, and, I went to the schools here, my kids went to the schools here. I've had several careers that took me to every nook and cranny in the community. My volunteer work, all of that has given me the background that, and it's true, we are lacking in the rural areas some services. I don't believe that the amalgamation helped that. I think it worsened it. And I think that we need a strong councillor who's going to go to the council table and say, it's time. It's time we stopped hearing about downtown. It's time we stopped hearing about the center plan. It's time to put resources out in these districts that are outside of the urban core. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Okay, thank you. So the next topic I wanted to move on is just to tell you a little bit about why the Spreifeld Community Association has supported these calls. First of all, it's a very exciting time to have an election with potentially new candidates at the table, and appreciation to Stephen Adams for all his years of service. But I wanted to also just flag that it is pretty hard to get community involvement, and we hope and welcome you and anyone on YouTube and Facebook to get involved with our community association as we go forward. But wanted you just to talk for 10, 15, 20 seconds or whatever as inspires you about why do you think it's important to be involved in your local community. And I have to flip between screens here, so maybe I could start with either Dawn or Bruce Cook. Go ahead, Bruce.
Dawn.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, yeah, okay. The thing about volunteering is you get good people volunteering, with the right motivation in their heart. They want to make a difference in their community, and it's fantastic. And what tends to happen is you get a good volunteer, and all of a sudden they're volunteering on 2 or 3 different organizations and committees and doing a lot of work, and there's volunteer burnout. We need to volunteering is critical. I'm a big believer, one person, and I've proven it, one person can make a change, a monumental change. Change starts with one person. And to, as a councillor, to get, identify good people in the community, encourage them to volunteer and make a difference, and try to make sure that they don't get burned out.
Thank you. Dawn, would you like to say something?
Yes, I was, I submitted a proposal to Credit Union Atlantic and then secured funding. And with that funding, me and a co-creator of our program called Your Choice went to various schools within the municipality, and we spoke to grade 10, 11s, and 12s on the importance of community involvement and the importance of exercising your right to vote. So I think creating a lot of volunteers starts at instilling volunteerism and being proud of being involved with your community at a young age. And that's how I came to understand how important it was to be an active citizen and volunteer within your community by being involved with Bowl for Kids' Sakes when I was a child. So if you start out volunteers young, then you'll have a volunteer for life. and then that will help eliminate volunteer burnout because you don't have so much on so few shoulders.
Thank you. So Ambrose, Kristen, and Matt, either of you would like to say anything?
I would, for sure. Matt, did you want to go ahead? You're good?
Yeah, just quickly. I'll be really quick. For me, when it comes to volunteering, it's simply, to me, is pride of ownership of your community. And that's essentially—
I want to say yes, but I want to say no. I want to say yes, but I want to say no.
Okay. Yeah, so pride of ownership of the community. I think that's what it comes down to, is simply just that. People who volunteer have pride in their community, and they want to make it better for everyone around them. And that's just what it means to me, and that's why I do it. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I was going to say similar things. And you learn so much more about your community and the services that you have access to inside a community. You meet your neighbors, you feel close, you make those connections. It makes people feel safe and secure, and that's really important. But it gives you a lot of information. Lots of people don't know all the great services that Spryfield and the outside communities and all District 11 offer. And I think being active and volunteering in those, you learn that. And I think and it makes you feel connected to your community, which is so important.
Okay, thanks. Ambrose?
Hi, Anne-Marie. Thank you very much. I think that getting involved in our communities is really essential. And I remember how excited I was. I remember talking to Steve Adams. You need to go see the Spryfield Community Association. That's where you got to start. And then COVID hit. So I was like, oh, okay, that didn't work out too well. But I volunteered a lot in other areas, just not as much in District 11. I have volunteered in District 11. And I really believe that volunteering is very essential in our community, and it brings people together as well. And I plan to do a lot of that in the future and bring in more people together from different backgrounds. And I think that's my specialty. And I believe that once again, echoing what Matt was saying as well, we are all proud of our community, or our district, I should say. And each one is running because we love our district, and we're very passionate about making it better. So we really all share the same passion in that sense. So yes, getting involved in the community is very essential.
Thank you, Ambrose. So one final topic, and it's a pitch from you to our viewers here tonight, and asking you why you think it's important to vote in this election. Free for all.
I'll go. Can I go?
Politely, yeah.
All right. Let me go. Because you know what? This is one of the reasons why I'm running. You know, early on, I watched 2016, and I want to applaud Dawn Penny today, because she's the only one that had the guts to run against Steve Adams, okay? Everybody else is coming out now, but in 2016, I didn't see any of them. And I was just kind of watching the election. I said, wow, where's everybody, right? Dawn Penny was out there, and she tried, right? Steve was tough. However, a lot of people are now voting because they don't care. You know, they just don't think they're part of, and they don't think they're part of the process. And I think that for me, as I was going door to door, one of the things I was saying is that even if you don't vote for me, please come out and vote. We need to start reminding our children, friends, everyone that they have a civic duty, the responsibility to vote. That's their voice, and they're not utilizing it. And we need to, I'm hoping with all these people that are running, all these wonderful candidates, we'll beat the record from 2016. Thank you.
I'd like to jump in and say, I was taught as a young child, if you don't exercise your right to vote, you don't earn the right to complain. So that's kind of how I've approached my approach to this. However, I think that people don't vote when they feel that their vote doesn't matter, and they don't vote when they don't feel connected. And so part of being a candidate is getting out there and connecting, speaking with people, connecting on that human level, because if people don't think that they can come to you afterwards, like a vote is just a moment in time, and it only represents the beginning of the relationship with the citizen to their area. I mean, the councillor has to continue their campaign style approachedness after, so that people can continue to talk to you. If they're not, comfortable coming to you and saying, hey, Lisa, that was really a crapshoot in council today, or I read something in the news that's not sitting well with me, and they know that I'm not going to call them back or I'm not going to respond to their email, then they're not going to feel involved and they're not going to vote next time. So the biggest chunk of the councillor's responsibility is to continue to connect with people, connect through community engagement, connect through echoing their voices, advisory councils, town halls, surveys, all of those things. Those are the most important things to be able to do to relationship manage themselves with their community.
So I have a good segue to that, actually. Last election, 4 years ago, we had a 27% voter turnout. And
wondering what that stat was. Thank you, Matt.
yeah, so I'm really, really hoping that we can, and I'm sure with 12 people running, but here's the thing, District 11, I'm going to speak like directly to you right now. I have 11 other people that are pushing me to be better every single day. And we have a good diverse group of people here. And from everyone that I've met, they are in it for the right reasons. We are very privileged to have so many good people trying to compete for this. And honestly, get out and vote. It's the one time a year, or one time of whatever year, whatever time, that everyone has an equal say in something, and just value that. And with so many good people to vote for, you definitely have a landing spot for it.
Folks,
Yeah, I'd
time
like to add to that.
to end. Thank you.
All right. Just add something to that really quickly, and sorry to jump in here, but the most important thing to get through to people is that if we don't use this ability to vote, we're going to lose it. And all they have to do is look south of the border to see the impact of what that will be here 10 years from now. So
thank you. So thanks, folks. Great evening. Certainly flew for me. Hopefully it did for you as well. You earned a rest for tonight anyway, back on the streets tomorrow, I assume, and hopefully it won't be as windy or wet. Details around voting, I just put in Halifax election. The date is October the 17th. Get out and vote. If you're not sure about your ability to vote, your cards and so on, there is a nice number, 902-490-VOTE. You can dial into your phone. Electronic polling begins on October 6th, and advanced polling runs from the 6th to the 14th. So don't miss your chance. 12 great candidates to pull from and to consider for this election, and it's going to be a long road ahead. So really excited to see the campaigns ahead, and wish you all the very best of luck.
thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
17 days,
Good night.
everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night.
Vote.